Hi, I'm Anthony Rella. I'm a therapist in Seattle, Washington. I've moved to all telehealth this week because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So I wanted to offer some support to those who need it and those who don't have access otherwise to mental health care or who need additional access. One way that I practice dealing with times of uncertainty and upheaval is to go inward, which is actually quite difficult during times of uncertainty and upheaval because there's so much tension and all of our nervous system activation tends to be up, and we tend to be very externally focused, trying to find some indicators or some signs that things are safe enough for us to go back inside and feel our own feelings. Most of us learn at an early age to either ignore what's going on in here or that it's not safe to feel what's going on inside, while there's upheaval, trauma, violence, or just basic uncertainty about our survival. And these circumstances have activated for a lot of us fears about our basic survival. Though some of us are doing okay, even those of us who are doing our best, we still don't know what the next months are going to bring, and that's bringing up a lot of anger and fear and also disappointment. So many people I've been talking to this week have just been reflecting on all the plans we've made for this spring, all the things that we were doing for ourselves and the hope that we were embracing. And it's just, there's a lot of pain and disappointment in having all those things canceled, losing those opportunities, and largely being confined to our houses and having to become creative if we're going to keep pursuing those goals. And then I think in the background, there's kind of the larger existential fear of whether those goals will even be relevant. And many of us are joking about the apocalypse, and in a way this is an apocalypse in terms of it's a collective death process. It's a changing fundamentally of our way of life, and it could be forever, and we don't know what's on the other side of this door that we're passing through. And it's okay to be scared, it's okay to be disappointed, it's okay to be angry, it's okay to feel tense, it's okay to feel checked out, it's okay to feel numb. Whatever we're feeling right now is okay. And you may be seeing guidance or suggestions that are telling you your feelings are not okay. And it's important to notice that and know that for those people sharing that, that might be important for them in some way. And also that we all have different ways of dealing with things, and we all have different tendencies that we're moving against or working with. And so what might be good advice for one person is terrible advice for another person. In particular, there's a tension between survival, our basic survival and sense of safety, and our maybe higher calling of being generous, compassionate, loving, and supportive of each other. And some of us are kind of vacillating between both. Some of us are highly concerned about our safety and preoccupied by it, and others of us are perhaps judging of our own safety concerns and of other people's safety concerns, and kind of throwing out that we all need to be caring about other people a lot more. And this shows up in a lot of things. It's showing up in the basic decision about whether to shelter in place or whether to go out and live your life, if you have that choice still. And also in terms of just how we're making do, how we're getting through, whether you panic buy supplies or you don't. In my tradition, the part of us that is the most instinctive, related to our animal body and our safety needs, is also the part of us that talks directly to our highest self, our divinity. And so in a sense, being personally safe and secure is not separate from being loving and generous and manifesting whatever higher quality you want to say: courage, compassion, love, generosity. And so rather than seeing it as a conflict or an either or, I think we would all do well to really just acknowledge the both and of it, to really accept the parts of us that are concerned about safety, and then to really listen to them and try to get their needs met in a gentle way. And if those parts of us know that we're caring for them, sometimes that frees us up to then do bigger tasks, to do more generous tasks. And also, some of us, the best thing that we can do for the world right now is to stay at home. Some of us are sick, whether we know it or not. And if we can just stay at home and be sick and get through this and not infect other people, that is a huge contribution. In truth, we're all inside of this right now. We're all trying to do our best. We all have different skills and ways of coping. One of my ways of coping is to try to be helpful to other people. And it kind of grounds me. It gives me something to do, gives me a sense of purpose, and it also becomes a limitation. So I also need to take time to take care of myself. Your ways of coping might be different. Perhaps you collapse, perhaps you get angry, perhaps you check out. They're all different and they all have strengths in a way. So instead of giving advice, right now I just want to offer you an opportunity to practice something that for me is a coping strategy, but it's also a self-care strategy. For me, I differentiate coping from self-care in that coping is about kind of getting through, and it's largely about maintaining the status quo. It's about holding things in place. So if the situation is really stressful, a coping strategy helps me to discharge the stress so I can keep on hoping that things will change. Whereas when I think of self-care doesn't always feel good, but it also can be a generative, transformative process that helps me to see how I can change the status quo in a way that would overall benefit my system and decrease my stress and increase my resilience. So what I offer now is just a safe space to check in with yourself and feel your feelings for about 5 minutes, and then you can go back to living your life or doing whatever you need to do. But in these times, it's hard to take a few minutes to just feel your feelings, and people are afraid often that if they stop to feel their feelings, they would collapse or they would fail. But what I find more often than not is that if we can do this consciously and intentionally in the way that I'm about to facilitate, it leads us actually to be more resilient, to have more space, to feel more at ease, to feel more centered, and to be more effective. So I invite you just to now make sure that you're in a space where you are alone or with people who are doing this work with you who won't interrupt you. That's the big piece, that we can all just take a moment just to be quiet and go inside, know that our bodies will be safe for the short term, and just take a deep breath out. If you're with other people who can support you, that's really helpful. And if you're alone, you might just let me be your witness, kind of noticing my gaze, looking into my eyes, and just start slowing your breathing down, exhaling until you're completely empty, and then pause. And then inhale, filling up your belly until you're completely full. And pause, and then exhaling again. And pause. And just keep following this rhythm, breathing in slowly and deeply until you're full, and resting in that fullness before exhaling slowly and deeply and completely until you're empty, and then resting in that emptiness. And if you feel tense or like you're forcing things, just soften a little bit. Breathe in a little bit below that tension, and exhale, stopping a little bit before that tension. And just knowing that your body will relax on its own just as you keep following this rhythm. And if it feels alright to close your eyes, you might close your eyes, or you might just let your gaze soften. You might look at something neutral like the wall or the floor. And just let your awareness start to go inside, into your body, into the darkness in your body. Noticing where your center of awareness is right now. For many people, they sense it up in their head, but it might be somewhere else in your body. And with your exhale, just let that center drop. Drop through your head, your neck, and drop through your heart, your chest, your solar plexus, until it reaches your core. It's the center of your body, somewhere around your navel and your pelvis. And as you exhale, kind of flex your belly out, engaging your core. And in this place, just notice what you're feeling right now. Notice what's present for you. Even if you don't have a name for it, just try to describe it, the sensation of it, whatever information you have. Maybe noticing a heavy feeling in your belly or a tense feeling in your shoulders, a bright, hot feeling in your heart, pressure in your head. Or you might have different language. You might be noticing sadness or guilt or disappointment. And as you notice all these things, just imagine you could speak to each part of you that's having this feeling, as though it's something outside of you, or a friend, or a child, someone you deeply care about. And imagine that you could say, it's okay for you to be here. It's okay for this disappointment to be here. It's okay for this anger to be here. It's okay for this tension to be here. It's okay for this judgment to be here. It's okay that there's a part of me that's not okay with this, and that part can be here too. And just keep breathing and noticing and offering that okayness, and noticing how that feels in your body. And now just returning to that feeling of center, and that place in your body where you feel kind of in the middle of all these different parts and sensations. You might just ask yourself, what permission am I needing right now? If someone who I loved and deeply respected and admired could show up and tell me it was okay to do something or feel something, what would I most want to hear? And you might imagine that that person is here with you, close or a safe distance away, telling you sincerely and earnestly that it's okay for you, that you have this permission to rest, to take action, to do nothing, to do something, to save a bit more or spend a bit more. Whatever it is, this is your answer. And just take in what it feels like to have that permission. And now you might imagine that you can ask your whole self, what's next? What steps do I need to take for my own security, my own safety and wellness? And what steps can I take for the security, safety, and wellness of my community? And just see whatever comes. Maybe there's no answer, maybe there's an image or a thought or a feeling. And just stay with that for another moment. And then thanking your whole being for showing up to this, all of these parts of you that were able to be here and be seen, offer you wisdom and guidance. And breathing in, imagine you can gather all your aliveness, all this insight into your core. And then breathing out, just imagining that that energy sends a line up into your heart and into your head, connecting your whole being. And as you're ready, you can let this go, and let your eyes open, let your body move, and let yourself come back to this space. And take some time to write down what you've noticed and what you've learned. And then I encourage you to put into action whatever information you have, whether it makes sense or not, but doing so in a way that is healthful and sane. And if it's whatever information you have seems impractical or potentially physically harmful, you could practice doing it imaginally in your mind, just imagining that you can have that experience. And you'd be surprised at how effective that can be. I wish you health and strength, and I hope we all get through this and discover a new and better world.